Power up. It looks like the audio is working. It looks like everything is going smoothly. So we are going to dive right in. So there's been some major updates to the actual bootcamp process, and there's been a lot of things that I've added recently with the help of the apprentices to make the process go a lot smoother for you guys. I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to double, triple, 1,000% make sure that the audio is working. Yep, it looks like. So there's been some major updates. It looks like the audio is working. We are good to go. All right, so we've made some major updates. If you haven't seen the announcements, we've added stages 1 through 8. There are now examples of each of the homework assignments, the missions for each stage that you can compare your stuff against. And then also for, I think it's in stage 12, we've added it. There is a 29 mistakes, the most HU guys make, mistakes that they make when they're doing outreach, that you can use to make sure that your outreach avoids the major mistakes. That way you can save weeks of testing right off the bat. You can just make sure that first version you test is significantly better. Obviously, you're still going to need to test. You're still going to need to iterate. But that first version, you're going to get to that winning outreach way faster by avoiding those mistakes, because you can compare it directly against those 29 mistakes inside the document. We've added these, and there's going to be more things like this going into the campus, because I want you guys to be able to get rapid personal feedback on your own stuff as quickly as you possibly can. Now, in the teaser for this video, I said that I was going to be talking about the OODA loop mastery and how to use it to make sure that you're learning as quickly as possible inside the campus, to acquire the copywriting skills as quickly as possible. Now, there's an important piece of the OODA loop that is overlooked when it comes to learning. Most people approach learning you sit there and you download a bunch of information, and then at the end, you see how much you know, right? You go through, 4 years of university, and then you go out and try and get a job. You sit there and you read or you study something for a week or two, and then you take the big test. And I've completely thrown that model out and moved with a completely different model inside of the boot camp, right? You learn a tiny little bit and you immediately apply it, right? You learn a bit and you apply it. You learn a bit and you apply it. But a big part of that cycle, instead of just breaking it down into smaller chunks, is extremely more helpful. But a big part of that cycle is getting feedback on that work that you did as quickly as possible, right? Now, there's two types of feedback. There's self-directed feedback and external feedback. External feedback is cool. I would love to be able to read every single homework mission assignment that you guys do. I'd love to read every piece of copy and personally give you feedback. But if you do the math, that would require maybe like 6 days per day that I would have to spend on doing that. It's not really possible at this scale, right? So the next best thing is to give you, there's opportunities to get peer feedback. There's a lot of ways you can get other people to look at your stuff, but there's a fast way that will handle maybe 80% of the problems that you guys are currently running into, or give you at least 80% of the benefit of the feedback I would give you. And that is providing you with examples that you can measure your work against. Now, let me explain what this transforms, or how this transforms your learning perspective, right? I'm going to compare and contrast the two different models. And I'm going to show you at the end how to best approach the learning process so that you can actually develop skills instead of just spending your time downloading information that doesn't translate into something valuable. So inside the traditional system, you download a bunch of information, you sit there in class, the teacher talks a bunch, draws some stuff on the whiteboard maybe, and then 3 weeks later, you have a test. And it's only then that you find out that you don't understand one principle or you understand a certain principle. And by that point, there's no time to go back and cover the material. You just know what you know, and then you get a grade, right? Not a very efficient learning model. The boot camps actually used to be kind of like this. There was the beginner stage, which was just a ton of information. And then there was the intermediate stage, which was just a ton of information. And it was good information, and there were steps along the ways for you to practice, but most people just consumed the information and then tried to do something at the very end and realized they didn't know how to do copywriting. They realized they didn't know how to talk to clients, and it caused all sorts of problems. So I've structured the bootcamp in a way that there's 14 stages. Each stage is a small, manageable chunk of information with an opportunity for you to turn around and apply it immediately. Now, what this does is it allows you to get feedback really quickly on whether or not you are on track or not, whether you're learning the skills or not. So you complete the first stage, you do the first mission for that stage, and you can immediately see whether or not you are too standard or if you're below standard. If you're below standard, if you realize that the stuff that you've done isn't nearly as good as the example, for example, then you can turn around and go back and iterate through that stage another time until your work matches the standard that allows you to progress to the next level. And you can do this for each and every stage, right? The benefit for this is while it saves you a ton of time, right? Instead of downloading a whole bunch of information and then having to go way back and start all the way over again because you missed one fundamental thing in the beginning, it solves all those problems early on. But a big part of this is on you. It's on your personal responsibility for you to and not just download the information into your brain, but to actually apply it and then measure your work against the examples, right? That will give you the feedback and the information you need to then turn around and either fix it or move on to the next step. This is the OODA loop, right? You observe, you orient, you make a decision, and then you act, right? A lot of people, they go through and they stay in that act phase. They observe, orient, and decide and act, and they start going through the program, and they're just reading the stuff. That's the action. But they never take time to observe their actual results, measure their actual abilities, so that then they can inform and direct their action in the most efficient way possible. They just stay in one iteration of the OODA loop, stuck, stagnant. And then when it comes time to actually get feedback, when they try to reach out to clients, it's really difficult because they never actually took time to measure their actual skill level before. So what I encourage each and every one of you to do is, as you are learning skills, and this goes beyond just the program. This goes beyond just the boot camp, right? So once you finish the 14-day stages and you end up inside of a legion, where the real work is getting done, you're still going to be learning skills. You're still going to be going through the OODA loop. And I encourage you that as you go through the OODA loop, as you acquire new skills, make sure that you are periodically pausing to review your own work, review the results that you are getting, and identify what your weak points are and where to fix them, and where opportunities are and how to take advantage of them. You have to be consistently going through the OODA loop. And the best thing you can possibly do is take the work that you're doing and get feedback on it. Internal feedback first, right? Make sure you're measuring your own stuff as best as you possibly can with the examples and the content that you have, but then seek out external feedback as needed on top of that. So once you've done the hard work, the initial work for yourself to figure out whether or not you're doing well, you then turn around and ask your legion. You then turn around and ask the other people in the boot camp. You then turn around and ask me, because that way I can make sure that the time that I spend helping you is on the highest level, most important thing possible. And you can take care of so much of that learning faster by yourself. That way, each and every one of you can progress and can get to that first wonderful moment where you collect money from a client. So you can get to that next wonderful moment where you knock it out of the park for them and earn them a ton of money. And then you can get to the next great moment where you earn your next client and your next client and your next client. And then you can get to that wonderful moment when you're financially free. It all depends on your ability to go through the OODA loop and manage your own OODA loop. You have to take control of the OODA loop. You have to take control of the effort you are putting forth to learn and apply new skills. And you need to take control and use the resources you have available to you to get feedback, so then you can inform your actions moving forward. This is how you learn, right? If I sat and gave you a 6-hour lecture on Muay Thai and then expected you to fight well, you wouldn't do very well. But if I broke that up into 15-minute segments where I taught a principle and then gave you a chance to apply it and gave you feedback on your form, and we did that over and over and over again, at the end of 6 hours, you still wouldn't be, a world-class fighter, but you would have made significantly more progress than if you just sat there and listened to me talk about Muay Thai, for example. The same is true as copywriting. The same is true with any type of learning you're going to be doing. So I want you guys to all go through the boot camp. I want you to measure your output, measure your work against the examples that are provided in those first stages. As you're going through the part where you're creating your outreach, anybody who is currently reaching out to someone who isn't getting a 10% response rate or high positive response rate or higher needs to measure their own current email outreach against the 29 mistakes template guide that's in stage 12. Use that so that you can inform your actions better, so you can orient and you can decide and you can act in a way that will get you the results you want faster. Now, this is a basic principle. This is one of our core tenets here inside of the copywriting campus. Use the OODA loop. Whoever uses the OODA loop most efficiently will win, right? Those of you the people who are winning, who are putting wins on the board inside of the wins channel, inside the Legion competitions, are those who have effectively used the OODA loop, who have taken control of it themselves. If you want to win, if you want to supersede them, if you want to be the person who completely dominates inside of this field, you have to take control of the OODA loop. You have to make sure that you are pausing to orient and measure your results against external factors so you can know where you're at standard, where you need to improve to meet standard, and how you can exceed the standard. My friends, this has been a good call. We've talked about some important principles. There are some new updates for you guys to take advantage of. Whoever takes advantage of it the most will make the most. And I'm excited to see the wins that will start pouring in as a result. So with that being said, we're going to end the call. We'll talk with you guys again tomorrow. Tomorrow, moving forward, the schedule might be a little shifted. I'm going to try and do them at the same time, but we'll see. I've got some things in play for the next week or so. But I will talk with you guys again tomorrow. We will continue to gather together for me to share insights and perspectives that will help propel you towards your first money faster. I will talk with you guys again in about 24 hours.